Okay, now in this final lecture in this section, in the general overview section, we are going to look at the idea of the band descriptors. Now the band descriptors are what are used by examiners to help assess your response and therefore provide you with your score. So essentially what we're doing here is learning how to impress the IELTS examiner enough for him or her to give us a band 7. So, how is IELTS Writing Task 1 assessed? Well, the band descriptors are made up of 4 categories, and we'll look at the titles of these categories now. We have task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, essentially vocabulary, and grammatical range and accuracy. And what this lecture is going to do is look at each band descriptor category title and then look at the requirements for how to achieve a band 7 in each one. Let's get started by looking at task achievement. So according to the official IELTS writing band descriptors, to achieve band 7 and above, you must cover the requirements of the task, present a clear overview of main trends, differences or stages, and clearly present and highlight key features of the graph. Now what does this mean in basic language? In other words, you need to write about everything in the question. Now that does not mean that you need to include every single piece of data. We'll be looking at that in a later lecture, but you do need to summarize and report the main features. You need to make comparisons where relevant. You need to write an overview in which the trends or important differences are clearly demonstrated. And you need to find the key features of the graph and make sure that these key features are clearly and accurately represented. Now, accuracy is important as well. How about coherence and cohesion? Again, to achieve a band 7 and above, you must logically organize information and ideas and show a clear progression throughout the response. And you must also use a range of cohesive devices appropriately. In other words, your response should be in a logical order which is easy to follow. Now, we'll look at this in a bit more detail later, but the easiest structure is to start with the introduction, then move to the overview, and then move to the detail paragraphs. And this idea of a clear progression throughout also applies to sentences within the paragraphs. Now, one way we can improve the progression between sentences within paragraphs is to link these sentences and paragraphs together with words like however, therefore, furthermore, and also to link stages together with expressions like at this point, following this, or having plus the past participle, etc. This is how we can make our response a little bit more cohesive and coherent. As for lexical resource, which is about vocabulary, to achieve band 7 and above, you must use a sufficient range of vocabulary to allow some flexibility and precision, use less common lexical items with some awareness of style and collocation, and you may produce occasional errors in word choice, spelling, or word formation. In other words, you need to show a wide or flexible range of vocabulary, basically trying to use synonyms and trying to paraphrase, as well as being precise. So don't use any kind of floaty adjectives like nice, for example. You want to be as precise as you can be. Particularly when it comes to data, you might say just above or just below, for example. Use less common words and phrases and show that you know how these words fit together. That's what collocations are. They're words which fit together. You see them regularly together. So fit together is actually a collocation itself. Now, you can make a few mistakes with your vocabulary and still score a band 7. You can make a few spelling mistakes or mistakes in word formation, but do of course try your best to be accurate. Finally, if we look at grammar, for band 7 and above, you must use a variety of complex structures, produce frequent grammatically error-free sentences, and demonstrate good control of grammar and punctuation even if you make a few errors. In other words, we need to use a range of sentence types and word orders, but try to use some simple sentences too. This can boost your accuracy rate. because that's what we want to do. We want to avoid making mistakes in the majority of our sentences. What we want to be aiming for is an accuracy rate in terms of sentences of more than 50%. More than 50% of our sentences should be grammatically error-free. And we need to use commas and colons and apostrophes appropriately to demonstrate that we're comfortable with grammar and punctuation. So we can make a few mistakes, but again, try to aim for as high an accuracy rate as possible. So let's have a quick summary. Now, what were the 4 categories? Think about what the 4 category titles were. Well, we have task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource or vocabulary, and grammatical range and accuracy. So let's just have a quick sum up of what we need to do to secure a band 7 in each of these categories. For task achievement, we need to cover all the task requirements. We need to present a clear overview which demonstrates the key trends in the graph or the key differences. We need to identify key features of the graph, so the most important information. And we need to make sure that these features and these trends are presented clearly and accurately. As for coherence and cohesion, we need to order our response logically, introduction to overview to detail paragraphs. We need to make sure we link sentences and paragraphs together with cohesive devices. We need to link stages with the appropriate language. And we need to stay focused in order to make sure that all of the transitions between our ideas make sense. In terms of vocabulary, we need to make sure we're showing a wide range of vocabulary. So using synonyms and trying to paraphrase. We need to make sure that we are as precise as possible with the language. So we might need to use terms like just above or just below when we're talking about a number which is close to another number. We need to make sure that we are using less common words and phrases at times and showing our understanding of collocations. And we need to aim for accurate spelling and word formation. Even though you can make a few mistakes, we will aim for accuracy. Finally, with grammar, we need to show, again, a range. We need to use simple and complex sentences as well, and aim to avoid making too many grammatical mistakes. We need to use punctuation accurately as well as grammar. And in the end, what we should be aiming for is a minimum of a 50% accuracy rate with sentences. So over 50% of our sentences should be grammatically error-free in order to secure a band 7. Now, over the duration of this course, what we're basically going to do is look at each of these requirements in more detail. So the lectures in section 3 of this course focus on task achievement. The lectures in section 4 focus on coherence and cohesion. The lectures in section 5 focus on lexical resource. And the lectures in section 6 focus on grammatical range and accuracy. And in the next section, section 2, we're going to be thinking about just how to approach the task. And I can't wait to get started properly now. So I look forward to seeing you in section 2.